Good morning and welcome to my reading vlog. I am so glad that you are here and I am excited to read one or two of my most anticipated releases for this spring. So the first book that we have is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I need to read this week because it is a new release library book and it needs to go back to the library so that somebody else can read it. I love Ali Hazelwood. She's my girl. She is the romance author who never ever disappoints me these days. I think that she's really funny and I'm hoping that this book is going to be super charming and super cute and super funny. I have heard some things about some of the spicy parts that make me think that maybe it's some stuff that I have not seen before. So you can be here with me as I am shocked probably by some of the things that I find, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't read a ton of paranormal things anymore, but I have to say, fun confession time, I was pretty active in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer fandom. For fan fiction, I did write fan fiction back in the day, if you want to know how old I am. So I'm pretty excited for the return of vampires because I used to be very into vampires. So that's my first book that I'm going to read. The inside cover of this book says, a vampire bride and an alpha werewolf form a dangerous alliance in this enthralling new paranormal romance. And by the way, they do spell vampire with a Y, which is a choice. Misery Lark is the name of the vampire, and the wolf is apparently named Low Moreland, and those don't sound like real names, but they do sound like real romance novel names. So I am excited to read that, and I'm going to start that first. And then, if I have time, the second book that I would like to read for this reading vlog is Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. So this is the sequel to GodKiller, and I was not anticipating being able to read it this month, but my hold came in from the library. Apparently I was the first person in line to get this book. And again, it's a new release library book, and my library only gives you 2 weeks with a new release. So I'm gonna have to get through this super quickly. I gave 4 stars to GodKiller. I thought it was a little slow in the middle, but it ended on a fantastic cliffhanger, and I loved the characters. So I'm really excited to get back into this world and see what she has done with the sequel. And the cover, just like the first one, is absolutely gorgeous. So I am the manager on duty at work tomorrow, so I only have 1 weekend day this week, so we're going to hope to get a lot of reading done on Sunday. But I am so excited to be here and to be reading with all of you. So welcome to my vlog. Good morning. Last night we went out with some friends and got some dinner, and that was really fun. But to be honest, I am such an introvert and that takes so much out of me. So now I'm really tired. I read a little bit last night. I have started Bride. It's pretty charming so far, but I am not immersed in the story yet. So I do have to go to work today. And when I get back, I hope to read a little bit more, and then I will hopefully be back with an update. Right now, I'm just making our morning coffee. My cat's yelling at me, right, Bones? Because he hasn't had his breakfast yet. So, good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I have made it to 50% of Bride, that way. And I thought it was time for a reading update. It is currently Sunday, about 11 o'clock. It's taken me 2 days to get to about the halfway point in this book, so it hasn't been a super quick read for me. I am enjoying it. It's taken me a little bit to kind of get into the swing of everything that Ali Hazelwood is doing here. I do want to talk a little bit about the setup of the book now that I understand it a little bit more. So we're following Misery Lark. She is a vampire. She's the daughter of kind of the head vampire of her vampire group. And she has been living a human life. And in true Ali Hazelwood style, she has been working as a computer hacker. So she got a degree in computers She says mostly online because it's hard to go to classes in the daytime. And she's been working as a hacker. At the beginning of the book, that's where we find her. And she is married in this kind of, marriage of convenience to Lo Moreland, who is the alpha of the werewolves. So vampires and werewolves in this world are not created. They're kind of a separate species. So you're born a vampire, you're born a werewolf. It's a little bit different from kind of the traditional idea that we have of vampires and werewolves, or at least I had. So that was something that was different from how I thought it was going to be. Ali Hazelwood is, as always, a delight in her prose. She is so funny. I love her dialogue. Our main character, she's getting married to this guy that she's never met so that basically so that the clans can have peace and they're not going to fight each other. So she writes, Misery has been trying to get a meeting with him so she can meet him before she walks down the aisle. And Ali Hazelwood writes, he is an alpha, Miss Lark, too busy to meet. Busy with his pack, Miss Lark. I pictured him in a home gym, tirelessly working on his abs, and shrugged. So it's just like, I don't know, I just find her really delightful. I find her very self-aware. I have to say, though, that I am 50% into this book, and we have had 0 moments where the main character has talked about how tiny she is compared to this giant man, which is really funny because he's an alpha werewolf. So you would think this would be the perfect opportunity for some classic Ali Hazelwood, but this one's a little bit different. So they get married, and Misery travels to live with him in his home over in werewolf territory. The marriage is only supposed to last for a year, and then the symbolism will have proved that they can get along and they don't have to fight and nobody has to murder anybody else, okay? So that's the setup. And of course, there's a lot more going on, we find out as we get into the story. There is a child character who is pretty delightful, and I'm not somebody that likes child characters in books. I usually get annoyed if they're written too cutesy, but I love her. I actually love both characters. Both main characters are great. Ali Hazelwood doesn't really write alpha male characters, which is funny because she's writing an alpha werewolf character, but he's not really super duper alpha commanding. He does not tell her what to do. He asks her for consent for things. It's really kind of nice and refreshing. So I'm at the 50% mark. There has not been any particular spice or anything like that yet. So I'm sure that's coming up soon. And that's the thing that, I'm not really sure about. We did just have, at the place where I am, this quote, I'm going to scent you the traditional wear way. It entails rubbing my skin against yours, my tongue too. So that happened. I don't know how I feel about any of that. There's a lot of smelling and tasting, and I guess it makes sense with what the characters are, but might not be exactly my thing. But I am really enjoying the book. I'm hoping to finish it today because it's due back at the library. I really want to take it back to the library so that somebody else can read it. So our plans for the day is we're gonna go out and grab some lunch, do our grocery shopping for the week, and then come back here and kind of do some chores around the house that we have. And then tonight, we're gonna grill out, and then I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to set up our fire pit for the first time since we moved into the house. And if we do, then I will be sure to get some video of that because I think it sounds really cozy to read in front of. So hopefully I'm gonna be finishing this soon and be able to get it back to the library. And yeah, it's a beautiful day. Excited to go get started. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And I have to say that I know that I was warned about this book and what the spicy parts were. And I thought I was ready, but I gotta tell you that I was entirely not ready for the spicy parts of this book. I was a little bit uncomfortable with some of the werewolfy bits, shall we say. I am not going to give you an explanation of what it was because this is a family-friendly channel. Go look it up if you want to. In fact, I would recommend that if you would like to know about it, that you Google a megaverse or nodding and find out what that is. I knew what it was. Didn't help. I was very uncomfortable. But to be fair, I am not really a spicy person. I usually just kind of skip those scenes because I get secondhand embarrassment, cringy, whatever, like super easily. So it's okay. I should have known that that would bother me when it started happening. And it goes all the way to the end of the book. 3 pages before the end, still going on. So forewarned. But overall, I actually really enjoyed the book. I think it's probably about a 3.5 star for me. I was thinking 4 stars. So 3.5 is pretty good. It would have been 4, except that the spicy parts made me a little bit more uncomfortable than I thought they would. But I thought our characters were extremely charming. I really loved Misery, our main vampire character. She was very snarky and sarcastic, and I just really, really loved her. Lo, our werewolf friend, is not very alpha for an alpha werewolf, which I did see some people online complaining about. But I'm not going to complain about that because I don't like a hero that growls at the lady, and I don't think he growled at all. Are you even a werewolf? I don't know. But anyway, if you like her other books, it's possible you might like this. The dialogue is excellent. Same as her other books, very funny. Just be aware of what you're getting into if you've never read any kind of a monster romance book, which I apparently had not, and my experience with Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan fiction, a decade ago, did not prepare me for this moment. So I really enjoyed it, and it's due back at the library, so I'm going to be dropping that off today and letting somebody else experience it. So I also went ahead and just barely started Sunbringer. So I'm going to hold that up. So Sunbringer is the sequel to GodKiller, which I read in January and really enjoyed. I thought that the characters were very charming in that book, but also that the middle part was a little bit slow. So I'm hoping that that pacing issue is going to be better for me here because we don't have to do world building because it's already set up. So far, I've only read 40 pages, so I can't really give an opinion, but let me tell you, it picks up right where GodKiller ended. And when I say right where it ended, I mean like 10 seconds later. We are continuing this book at the very first scene. So if you enjoyed it, I think that you would enjoy this one too, but I'm only 40 pages in, so I'm going to withhold my judgment until I read some more. It is currently Tuesday morning. I'm about to head into work. And then after work, I'm going to make some dinner and then hopefully have plenty of time to read my book tonight because I've not been having a lot of reading time this week so far. So got a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, yeah, that's all. I'm going to head into work. Hopefully have a good day. And I'll be back to update you later. Good morning. I am here with a reading update for Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner, which I have now read 30% of. And if I'm completely honest, I probably would have DNF'd this by now if I weren't reading it for a vlog. It's the thing that I really liked about the first book was the found family aspect. In this book, it kind of does the second book thing where it's got to break up the band and it's not going to get them back together until the end of the book, I feel like. So that's disappointing because that was one of the main things I liked about the first book. And then also, I feel like there's too many POVs. There's at least 4. And the chapters are also very short. So you're constantly switching back and forth between characters and POVs, And I am just finding it really hard to get immersed in the story because all the time I'm like, okay, now what's going on now? Where are we now? What was this character doing? I don't remember. So I'm struggling a little bit, but I am continuing on, and it's possible that this book may pull a GodKiller and bring me back at the end, because I didn't really like GodKiller until the last 20%. So we'll see. Not a super hopeful update. But I'm going to keep reading. Hopefully I will be done with this in the next day or so, and I'll be able to give you my final thoughts. Good morning. I am here with the end of the blog, and I really need to talk about Sunbringer. So I did finish this book. It is the sequel to GodKiller, which you probably know if you've been watching the whole video. I really didn't like it. If I'm generous, it's a 2-star. It suffers from second book syndrome harder than just about anything I think that I have ever read. But let me step back a little bit, because I don't want to feel like I'm being mean. I feel like I'm being mean because I did really enjoy GodKiller, even though there were some things that I thought I didn't like as much. But I just struggled so hard with this book. And let me explain why. So we start off and we are basically exactly where the first book ended. In the first chapter, we gain a new POV character who is Aaron. He's the king in this world. He's a very kind of gray character. And we start exactly where the first book ended. And that was really exciting. I really enjoyed that first chapter and seeing what was happening with him. And I was excited about having him as a POV character. Then unfortunately, after that, I just felt like the action just stopped. And we had our POV characters from the first book. We had Elogast, Kissin, we had Inara and her little god. They all had their POVs, and I just didn't like that they were all separated from one another for basically the entire book. Every single time we switched POVs, I had to remember what was going on, because the chapters were very short and they were very choppy and they were completely separated from one another. And I just could not stand it. It was just boring. I couldn't wait for the book to end. I was just like, the thing that made the first book special to me was the found family. I did think the first book was also slow in the middle, but because we were on a journey with these people who found a family together who I loved so much, then I was kind of able to forgive that. But in the case of this book, when they're all kept separated, so I don't have that found family to kind of cling to, I just had a really hard time with it. To be honest, I can't really recommend this one. I'm not sure that I'm going to continue the series as much as I did enjoy the first book, just because this kind of left such a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't know if this is a case of this should have been a duology and we made it a trilogy, which I feel like is the thing that happens pretty often actually in books. Not enough story for 3 books, so we stretched it out and the second book suffers and has second book syndrome, and we all know about that. But I'm really sad about it. It's bumming me out. But I want to always give my honest opinion on my channel. I don't ever want to say I like something that I had issues with, because I want to be, honest and trustworthy and all those things. So I really cannot recommend Sunbringer. But if you didn't read the first book for the found family, if you were really in it for the plot line of the gods and the politics of the world, then I think it might be something that you would enjoy more than I did. It's just not why I was interested in the book. So that's the end of my vlog. This has been a really tough week for me to do a vlog. There's been so much stuff going on in my life. And I've also been working all week, which I always find it kind of hard to do this while I'm working, because I feel like my life is kind of boring, because I get up at 5 a.m. and then I go to work, and then I come home and I go to bed at 9 p.m. So I'm not usually doing super interesting things, but I have enjoyed it. And I would say that I do recommend Bride. I did really enjoy Bride, in spite of being a little bit scandalized by some of the spicier bits, but I really enjoyed it. And I think that that's a book that I would recommend. So kind of a mixed bag this week, But I hope that you all have had a great reading week, and let me know if you have read either one of these books down in the comment. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you've enjoyed what you've seen here today, and I will see you later. Bye.